about things in closed session right now that you're not supposed to do. I'm asking something that
you did, yeah.
No, I could. You're not supposed to talk about things in closed session, but things could be repeated. And so I'm asking you guys, raise your hand if you're in support of long-term dual use, carving out some space for preschool. Is my hand the only one up right now? Eric? Long-term dual use. Nobody else is in support of that, really.
As I said, I don't even know if it's possible, so I'm not going to raise my hand.
Anything's possible with some effort and good faith. Anything is possible.
I wish that was true, but I mean, I agree with Nancy. I don't know the answer to that question. I would like to know the answer to that question, but I don't know.
I'm not asking if it's, I'm saying, are you in support of it? Are you in support of making a good faith? It could fall apart, like I said, before the lease is ever signed.
David, you're asking me if I'm in support of a unicorn. It's not a question I can answer.
I'm asking, are you support of a long-term carving out space long-term for potentially a preschool to lease out some of that space long-term?
I am not going to make a public commitment to something that I don't know the rules about and don't understand. So
we know the rules. We can lease to a preschool. Chuck already said we can. You guys are trying to spin things around. Chuck already said we could lease to a preschool.
And we're going to lease to a preschool that is
okay. And so now I'm talking long term, which is the most important. Of course, we're going to lease short term. If we didn't, I mean, you're talking. I mean, there's oligarchs that would be that would offer more, better terms to a potential tenant than what you guys are talking about. So let's not kid ourselves. A year or 2 years is the minimum. So to just get that off the table, like we're doing something so good, a year or 2 years, we're not going to be started with our plans. We won't even have an architect approved plans yet. So don't give me this. We're going to be, whoa, yeah, we're thinking about a year. That's the bare minimum, is about 2 years. I'm talking long-term. Is there any good faith besides me of finding out if the agreement can be put together, if it gets approved by the county, everything else at equal? Or is anybody else but me in support of carving out some space for a preschool?
David, it's premature because the board just directed me tonight to start discussions with Candace. So we haven't even had discussions yet. So I don't know what Candace wants. Candace doesn't know what we're offering. So it's premature.
And that's why the term good faith exists. Because you don't know the terms, Chuck. If you know anything about negotiations, which I think you do, the good faith, there's a way that nothing needs to be discussed outside of good faith and a mindset, a meeting of the minds to say, you know what, our board members, I still don't know. Answer your question. Long-term, is anybody else in support of a dual use, potentially carving out some space for a preschool besides myself?
I cannot support something that is so vague and may not even be possible.
But you can support
exploring it, David. I support exploring it as part of what we're going to do in the year ahead. I don't know if it'll work, but I support exploring it, but I am not willing to commit to it at this point. I don't know.
Absolutely. What will work. I'm talking about the good faith effort to get there. Absolutely. Like I said, I put that caveat to begin with. One of the first things I said is the lease could fall apart before it's ever signed. We have a good faith effort to potentially work out something long-term with this tenant. And before everything is crossed off and signed off on, everything falls apart. It never happens. But guess what? We, as a community service district, did everything in our power to accommodate an important stakeholder in our community. We did everything in our power, not a disingenuous, we're going to give you a year. Come on. And like there's any other option, come on, try and give less than a year. Try it. Try and see how far that goes. I mean, that's just so, okay, stop right there. Because a year is a minimum. So I don't want to hear this, right? So, okay, that's the minimum. I'm talking long-term. And obviously it's clear that, like I said, caveat being this never happens. But it's clear to me that the faith, the effort, the vision that you need doesn't exist. Everyone on this board, you guys just want to focus on, oh, yeah, what ifs? You guys say you can't talk about what ifs, but guess what? We know if we buy this board, if we don't have a plan and we buy this building, we're kicking out kids. We're in a community. This isn't in Half Moon Bay or Montera. This is a community that already has a big deficiency in childcare. Come on, that's, as a governmental agency, I will push this and say, as ethical consideration, no board members took ethics class. Wait a second, there is a bigger thing, community service district, lack of schools at this age group, us coming in. The owner himself looked at offers only from preschools, and he's a public citizen. We're a community services district pushing out a preschool, saying we better change community service district out of our charter. Take that out, because it will be this. Honestly, this will be remembered as it goes down and says, aren't you guys that community service district that pushed out the most vulnerable members of your community? That's GCSD. That is GCSD. And I have known this for a long time, and now it's coming out. Everybody can see as this happens. It's clear to me, nobody else on this board has any good faith to want to see a preschool there long-term, to hunker down to make it work, or you guys would be speaking up right now. And I'm disappointed that no one else is.
Any other board members?
I want to say that what's important right now is,
And
sorry.
Eric,
I mean, that's a lot to follow. Before I say my piece on what we're voting on tonight, I'm going to point out that of the 5 board members, I'm the only one who voted against entering into these negotiations. Thought it was a bad idea then. I think it's a bad idea now. I may not bluster, shout, complain, everything else, but I have long held the opinion that the use of that building as a preschool is a better use of it than as a community center. I like our ideas for a community center. I don't think they are a better use of that property though. I'll also point out that, at least speaking for myself, if not the rest of the board, while I do respect that the decision to sell the building was the Picasso's, the decision to make an offer to purchase the building was ours, and we should own that.
Yep. We do.
And we do. I don't know that we always do, but I think we do. You know, other than that, I do think I've said my piece. I feel strongly that that property is serving the community now, and we should do everything we can to have it continue to serve the community in that way into the future. I don't know what that looks like. I hope it is something that will work for Candace as the owner of Picasso. I know Candace well. Both of my kids went to Picasso. It's a wonderful experience. I hope it's something that the parents of the community can continue to enjoy. And I do hope that if the board decides tonight to purchase the building, we'll do everything we can to continue to come to a solution that is equitable and fair to the entire community.
Long-term or just short-term?
I don't know, David. I'm happy to explore all options, but I am certainly not an expert on zoning, real estate, or operating a preschool. So,
And I don't think we need to be. I think it's just that distinction of, I think every single person, there's no question, everybody's in support short-term, that we're gonna do everything possible to extend and make accommodations. This is, to me, so it's a waste of time to even talk about.
Barbara, it's your turn.
We should all
I
be
was
talking
just
about
gonna
long-term. That's what I want to hear.
I think that the most important thing right now is to get an agreement in time for people to get into the preschool this fall, because there's a lot of people counting on that. And I feel like just let's start with that. That's a long time. An agreement from now through next June or whatever you negotiate, Chuck. Let's start with that. And then that gives us some time to figure out what the next steps are and what the next priorities are. That's what I think.
Any other board members? I see your hand up, Lenny.
Lenny,
Hi, I appreciate the passion everybody has for this. And getting back to the issue that I'm so passionate about.
Yes.
Barbara, with all due respect,
Yeah.
if you do double the size of that building, it will block all of the water view from Avenue Alhambra. Come out and come over and you can see. It's gonna do that. It's gonna block it out. It's gonna be a
No, I
violation.
don't think so.
Well, I wouldn't,
Let's take a look.
I,
We'll take a look
if
at
I
it.
were in your place, I would want to think that way also, but I'm
Well,
not. in
I've
your
gone and
place.
looked at it, Lenny. I mean,
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I
Don't get,
didn't
don't get
do this
upset.
lightly.
Yeah, I just feel kind of disrespected a little bit because I can definitely see, not particularly by you, because I know you really do believe that what you're saying, but I also believe what I'm saying, and I'm coming from a place where I'm staring out at it all the time. So we'll see, you know, but believe me, there will be a problem if they do block that view corridor.
Absolutely, we don't
with the
block the
coastal
view corridor,
commission.
but there's a
We'll
hotel
take-
across the
we'll-
street.
We'll be taking it to the coastal commission, whatever we can do. I'm not trying to threaten. I am just trying to protect the thing I'm very passionate about. And the community is very protective and passionate about their
It should be.
natural resources. So, you know, it wouldn't matter if you were JC, so to speak, with all due respect to JC. I would be in disagreement on that one.
Okay, we'll have to look at the pictures and look at the specifics.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lenny.
Great. All right.
Do we
Thank you.
have any
Bye-bye.
other
Thanks a lot.
comments?
Thank you. I'm gonna.
No
ease
other
back
hands
on
up.
duty.
Let me just say one thing, which is there's a big hotel on the other side of the street from this property. So we'll see. We'll see.
No,
what-
I'm talking about the view
Okay,
corridor.
okay,
Let's not-
we're talking now about design of something that hasn't even been considered.
Exactly.
I know,
Sorry.
Matt, but the reason
This is not the agenda item.
I know, but with this kind
This
of.
is not the
matters
agenda
to me
item.
and-
We've heard,
to me
we've
and
heard,
Lenny.
Lenny, we've heard from
I
you
wanted it
3
recorded.
times now, and I'd like to move on.
Yeah, I would like to move on too. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Barbara, you wanted to make a motion?
I did already.
I didn't hear it.
Made a
No, you
motion. Did you hear it?
No.
No.
I think we asked you to wait until after the comments.
All right, well, I hate to be the one to do this. It's gonna get me in trouble,
I'll
but
do it.
hey, I have
I'll do
to
it.
go with what I believe is the right thing to do in this case. And I want to just start by saying, I'm glad we've authorized negotiation of a lease for at least the next year. I'm willing to look at whether we can continue to operate the preschool in the community center. I think this will be a big asset to our community, and it makes sense to have it right on the Burnham Strip. Having said all that, I would like to make the motion that we go ahead and finalize the purchase of this property.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I would just add that, I mean, I think it's just reiterating a point that my impression from Debbie Piccolo's details that she posted on Nextdoor was that the preschool was at risk for closing even sooner. It's a tough business and it's been a tough year. So I think we can support a positive transition and certainly buy more time than there was. I don't think the Piccolos would be in negotiations with GCSD if they thought they had any other option for a preschool franchisor to move in. And so I think in that regard, we're really their only reasonable buyer at this point. And so I support buying it. And then, you know, we don't have plans written. It's going to take some time to sort out what to do and how to do it and get the permits. And we'll figure that out, I think, with the preschool as we go along.
Thank you. I would comment that if GCSD doesn't buy this property, Krausos are still selling it. Anyone could buy it. It could be anything, and they might try to put anything there. And you know, the preschool is a recognized resource for our community. It is important, but it could easily turn out to be someone who would buy it and immediately close down everything and do whatever they could. It could be a foreign investor. What do they care about zoning? we don't know. So that's another factor that makes me think we should do this. So unless there's other comments, I think we should call the vote.
Okay, Director Sukumal?
Yeah, I mean, my only comment, which I think is still important because it's part of the vote, and it is Chuck, it's not funny. This is serious government watchdogs. If they're watching, we're voting on a multi-million-dollar property, and board members cannot answer the basic questions of what we're buying it for and what our intended use is. And this isn't the first time. Every time we bought a property, you guys have moved the targets. Oh, we need the gateway to the community and all the parking space, and then we move. Now we need this one, and each time nobody can articulate what we're even doing with what we're buying. And to me, we're about to spend $2 million plus another million when you add up soft costs and renovations and everything else that's going to go into whatever the plans are. And my question is, what are the plans? What are we voting on? What are we using the space for? Tell
I
me.
have an
how many other
answer. I
tenants
have,
are
I
gonna
have
be
an
there?
answer. I have an answer. We're
Yes.
voting on whether we're going to buy the property.
Then answer the question about what our intended use is. Are we going to keep the number one tenant? The most important concern to our community right now isn't about how much office space the Delia has and everything else. It's about this preschool. So how come nobody could talk about what their long-term plans are for the preschool? And if you guys want to continue to refuse to comment on this, this is going to go down as a multi-million dollar real estate purchase where board members somehow were able to come to a yes answer behind closed doors, but cannot articulate in public their reasons for why they want to buy a property. And I've asked you guys now multiple times on the record your long-term plans and not excuses. Every one of you now has come up with an excuse about, well, maybe we can't do this. Maybe she doesn't sign a lease. Maybe she doesn't want to be there. Maybe she leaves. I don't care about that. I'm saying your long-term plans for buying this building, do they include the good faith of having a tenant there that we're going to lease out to as a preschool? Yes or no? And if you guys want to continue to filibuster on that, we're going to have major issues when we review the records and say, wait a second, how come these board members couldn't answer questions on video? Somehow behind closed doors, there must be some good conversations taking place about what the plans are and what the vision is for this property, because it's not being articulated.
David, you got comments from all 4 other directors. Don't say that nobody would.
Not on the long-term plans. Everybody's filibustered around it. You guys have all filibustered around
directors.
it. What
David.
is anybody else committed? Can anybody else raise their hand that they are committed to having a preschool as a long-term tenant?
David, I'm not going to be
It's a
bullied
simple
into
question.
agreeing
Just
your
say
point.
no then. Don't filibuster on this, because
No.
this is disclosure, public information. Information, a board member, not a member of the public. I'm a
If
board
you
member.
stop shouting,
saying,
you might get
what
an
is the
answer.
use? What is the use of this building that we're about to buy and drop $3 million into when it's all said and done? Somebody
David,
needs to tell me this
Oh,
purpose.
calm down. We've been clear from the beginning that the long-term intended use of this building is a community center. We have not agreed to stipulate that it will always include a preschool. I'm not bullied
Nancy,
into making that commitment. You've had the answer.
And Nancy, you were just selling me
We're
on
looking for
pickleball
property
and
for a
all these
community
ideas with the
center.
fire station. And since then, we haven't had another meeting about, wait a second, pickleball and all these ideas with it. And now all of a sudden, whoop, now I mean, it's like, honestly, there must be some really good conversations that are taking place, because they're not happening right here. They are not happening right here because nobody can come and just say, no, we are not going to lease it to a preschool long-term. Just come out and say that. That is not in our long-term plans. We are not going to do that. We may
We don't
extend
know
it
what
for
our
a year or
plans are,
two.
David.
All right.
That
Matthew,
is an important point that I need to know about before I take a vote.
Matthew
If
has
I
already
need
called.
information for a vote, I need this from the board members. I need where your guys' heads at, because I don't meet with you guys in public. I don't talk to you guys on the phone. You
don't
guys
talk to
obviously
anyone.
have some
You're shouting the
conversation.
whole time.
Okay,
And
then
you're
let's
not
hear it
allowed
right
to talk
now.
to us on the
Now-
phone because of the
Alright,
Brown Act.
All right. Matthew has called the question. David, you've asked your question. The board members have answered them as they feel fit to answer them.
Disingenuous. Then
So,
now's your chance for a
The
genuine
motion on the
answer.
table is to finalize the purchase of the property. I'll call the roll call vote like Matthew asked me. Director Sukumal,
No.
Director Dye,
Yes.
Director Marsh,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Seaton,
Abstain, and clearly you have to abstain again because you guys are asking me to vote on information that not
David,
isn't
if you
being
don't want to
articulated by
buy
the
the
board.
property,
It's
vote
an
no.
abstain, and you guys have forced
I
me to
have
do
to
this on
read-
multiple property
I have to
purchases.
read the motion. On motion, Director Dye, second.
Behind closed doors, great conversations happen
No,
when it
it
comes
was
to.
not behind closed doors. It was not. We have been
Okay.
out there in the public. This is a public meeting. We
Then
had to
talk
do.
about your real feelings in the public. This is on video.
We
This is gonna go
did.
down. Now, I'm gonna go down as the only person that stands for long term. Nobody, no other board. Your silence is speaking.
On motion
all-
to
Okay,
Director
David, what's your
Dye,
exact definition of long-term?
Yes, let me.
Long term is for.
Exactly.
Let me read
A
the
long-term
motion
lease,
and the
7 to 10
result.
years, potentially starting point, good faith. If it breaks down, 5 and maybe an option to renew for 5 years. First
That's
right.
too,
On motion of
That's too
Director
vague.
Dye, seconded
not
by
exact.
Director Marsh. Motion passes 301. Director Sukumal opposed. Director Seaton abstains.
So it's 301.
311.
Okay. That's an issue a lot of times when we do this. So, okay, I think it's pretty clear. I think this meeting is going to reflect itself. The record will speak volumes. And I think that it's interesting that you guys can't even commit to a good faith, which I think is the simplest thing to do long-term, to say, yes, we can carve out, find some space for a preschool for the most vulnerable. We could make that
we're
happen.
moving now to action item number 5. Consideration of resolution authorizing the general manager to accept conveyances of interest in real property by certificates of acceptance.
Can I speak? I just want to thank all the people who came tonight. We listen to you and we care about what you think. And we do take your testimony. And again, I personally am sorry that I couldn't vote the way maybe everybody wanted to, but I'm happy that we're going to have the preschool continue for a while we try to figure out what the future options are. And we're limited because we can only have the discussion in public meetings. And thank you for attending.
Okay, item number 5.
Wait, just before we move on, because I mean, this is a chance. So so Nancy, because before you led the efforts, we had pickleball and all these things. Are those same things that are applicable here? Or?
Everything that we have looked at for a community center is still on the table as we go forward with planning and more community input and outreach on a community center.
Okay, because I haven't heard that before. So what, okay, so everything
Well,
that
every
was in
time I
that
say
plan that could
community
fit?
center, it's
Okay.
encompassing all of those things that the community told us that they would like to see.
Okay, and so we're listening to the community right now. We've heard a lot of vocal community members say, you know what? For you guys need a community center so bad. I haven't heard from anybody that said, get this, yeah, you guys need a community center so bad.
Would you
Put these
please
kids
start
around.
us- Start item 5.
Item number 5, we can't have discussion on item number 4 anymore. So this resolution and the certificate of acceptance have been drafted by our attorney, and they're the legal documents that allow me to do the signatures I'll need to do to close the deal based on the board's vote. So we'll need a motion to approve.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay. On motion of Director Dye, seconded by Director Marsh, I'll do a roll call. Director Sukumal?
No.
No. Director Dye?
Yes.
Director Marsh?
Yes.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Seaton?
Abstain in good faith, because I don't know the full details of what we're appointing you for.
Motion passes 311 with Director Sukumal opposed and Director Seaton abstains. Yeah,
Okay. Item number 6, report on parks and recreation activities. I've prepared nothing for this. Who is that, Nancy?
Yeah, I just want to remind folks, we did have a couple weeks ago, Barbara and Michelle led a nature walk in Quarry Park. A handful of people that came, and Michelle had organized with Sea Hugger a cleanup of the Burnham Strip. I personally picked up 3 big canvas bags of trash. I think they actually sort and count all the cigarette butts, sort out all the recyclable trash from the non-recyclable trash. The Sea Hugger folks are really dedicated. And we had further discussion about potentially having the next Burnham Strip cleanup include music, which Michelle is still working to organize with an event organizer and a potentially food truck, beer truck. Those details still coming together for a late August date, I believe, and potentially one in September. I want to remind everybody that Saturday is movie night in Quarry Park. Wonderful co-sponsorship from San Mateo County Parks, who is not charging permit fees, and they're providing 2 rangers to help with security and parking. Also collaborating with Coastside Mountain Bikers on some cleanup and I think a bicycle skills session in the afternoon. But it is in the meadow. In the past, the movie's been, you know, a quarter mile up the road in the very dark in the quarry. This time, Beach Break Productions is setting up their stage in the meadow that is, as you enter the parking lot, immediately on the right. So not such a far walk. People are encouraged to bring a blanket or load chairs. The movie is set to start at about 8:45 and go till about 10:15. The movie is Goonies. There is an Eventbrite link on granada.ca.gov/parks to sign up, but sign up isn't required if you forget to do it. Everybody is welcome to come and chill out with a family-friendly movie in the park.
Barbara.
This should maybe come on the agenda item later, but I would like an agenda item on our next agenda to ask the county parks to give us a report on their efforts to reduce potential impacts of the pump track on the adjacent neighborhoods. That was part of our agreement with them to help fund it, is that we asked them to make sure they could do what they could to reduce the impacts. And I would like to make sure that we ask for a report on that at our next meeting of what they're planning to do in terms of additional parking, potentially changing the parking on some of the streets in the neighborhood and so forth, because I think it's really important to reduce the impacts on our local neighborhoods.
I think that could be partly how we could solve the problem too, because one of the things could be just us customizing a really cool map, you know, whatever, that says, hey, this is this is where you park in the harbor, ride your bike on a coastal trail, hit up these spots. I mean, I think it's more of kind of a communication with signage and kind of things like that. Like, hey, the cool thing to do is to start here in the harbor and whatever, so that people aren't rushing to Quarry Park as their starting point with their vehicle. We want them parking somewhere else and then taking their bike and exploring, other spots on the coast. So I think we could come in with obviously working with them, but maybe on a communication side to help with signage or other things like that.
Coastside Mountain Bikers is really good about that too. They usually encourage people to park at the elementary school and ride their bikes in.
But I would still like just a report, because they've talked about increasing the parking there and changing the parking in the neighborhoods. And so I'm just asking for a report from county parks on what they're planning to do and what their progress is.
Yeah, I'll talk with Nicholas Calderon. He actually traded emails with me this week on that.
Thank you.
Celia.
I just wanted to report that there was a CPR class held as well for the summer program. It was successful. And unfortunately, we had a resignation on PAC by Paul Kolsch. So I guess I'll be advertising for his replacement and an alternative.
Oh, great.
I did send
Not
Paul a
great.
thank you note, because he was one of the OGs on the PAC. I think he's, along with Pat, one of the last original members. So
yeah, he's been there for
his years of service.
As an original member of the Parks Advisory Committee, I have to say we'll miss Paul. He was great, very sensible, very passionate about recreation and public access in El Granada. I look forward to encouraging other members of the community to volunteer for our Parks Advisory Committee. Paul was great. Kudos to Paul.
Actually, he was the leader of the pump track task force that I think helped push the timing on the pump track along with Rick. Michelle.
We have no way of predicting how many applications we'll get. Maybe we'll only have one, so that will make it easy. But when we previously appointed PAC members, we had an ad hoc committee to interview them and make a recommendation. So do we want to go ahead and do that now, or do we want to see what happens with our solicitation first? I would say let's see how many people apply.
Yeah, I think actually we have a couple of people who've been, at least one person who's been coming to PAC meetings who may be interested.
Well, we can
Are
follow
we out of
protocol
backups at this
and put an
point?
ad.
Pardon, I couldn't understand either one of you. Delia,
I'm
what?
sorry. Are we out of backups at this point? Didn't we have some
Yeah,
backup
there are.
candidates before?
There were two alternatives. One of them unfortunately passed away and the other one has taken a seat on PAC. So there are no alternates at this time. So when I put the ad in the paper, if we get a good response, then possibly the committee reviewing them can not only appoint someone to fill Paul's seat, but also appoint some new alternates as well. So we'll follow protocol on that.
Can we advertise that on, I guess, Nextdoor? I don't know.
Yeah, I've usually.
I try not to go on Nextdoor, but I don't know who reads the paper anymore.
I'll put an ad in the review and we'll publish it in as many places as possible. So, and give a good window of time for people to send in applications. So.
All right, I would like to commend the Parks Advisory Committee and particularly our liaisons, which are basically Nancy and Barbara, and particularly appreciate Pat Tierney for hanging in there. It's been over a year of COVID. It's been very difficult to deal with and make plans. And because, for instance, 2 weeks ago, we didn't have to wear masks if we were vaccinated, and now the county says we should wear a mask again. So those kind of things play havoc with trying to come up with schedules. And so thank you all for your efforts. Okay, now we're turning to the sewer side. Item number 7, public hearing, consideration of a resolution adopting the sewer service charge and delinquent garbage account report and authorizing the collection of said charges on the fiscal year 2021-22 San Mateo County tax roll. And for this, I am opening a public hearing for public comment on both of those, the sewer service charge and delinquent garbage accounts. Does any member of the public wish to speak?
And nobody likes the sewer and trash stuff, Matthew, so.
We've had
All right.
no written comments as well.
No written comments as well. All right, I will close the public hearing. And now we have a resolution that is in the packet. Do we need any more? We do this every year. Do we need any more explanation, or does anyone have questions or comments?
Yeah, just for the public, this is just our way of billing for the sewer service charges and delinquent property tax or garbage delinquencies. We put them on the tax roll, and it's just an efficient and cheap way to bill people.
Thank you.
Nancy has her hand up.
Yeah.
Nancy?
My only comment is on the trash delinquencies. I'm just sort of shocked. I'm rather shocked that some of them get into, I mean, residential trash service costs about $300 a year. And I'm just so surprised that some of them get into hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And there's one on there that's several $1,000s. I think that was a multi-unit place, but I thought that the note said that Recology gives us an update on what's owed every year. So it looks like there must be some people who have multiple years of delinquency.
Actually, these amounts are reflected for services from April 1st of last year through the end of March of this year. So it's only for a 12-month period that these amounts are overdue.
Wow. Some of them are really big. Okay, well.
Yeah, well, I think it does bring up a broader issue that I think they don't realize that a lot of these people would be paying their bills, but I don't think they're able to because they do have one of the most confusing and I would say just dysfunctional online management system in terms of the credentials that it makes you do. It locks you out. If you go and ask a question on their website, contact us for help. It lets you write about 12 characters and then it doesn't even let you finish your sentence. And that's, you could literally start your sentence and you can't even finish. I mean, they have so many, I think, little issues that I think if they cleaned up a little bit, I think a lot of these people would pay, but they're having account access issues because like I said, all websites have their own issues, but it is one of the worst in terms of locking you out for 24 hours and then you can't call into support. Nobody can help you. You know, it's just like, it really is, they need to clean up, I think, their account management and, you know, just their user interface. I think it would.
Oh, I
you know,
personally am unaware of any other complaints about their website, and I certainly
Yeah,
we can
you know,
ask
I
them
mean,
to
there's so
address
many,
the-
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things they could do. For example, I think they could send when the bill comes out each month, they send an email with a direct link that you can click that link and pay your bill with all the other information in your account. So when you
David,
get that,
can you send me these suggestions? in
yeah,
an
yeah.
email
I mean,
and
it's
I'll-
basically every company that I'm on a resubscript billing, you know, does that where you get everything's right there and Recology's. And that's where honestly, I've gotten so frustrated. I'll tell you what I do with my Recology. Every time I pay it, I pay 3 to 4 months ahead because I don't even want to worry about because I've had issues in the past. I've told them about them. I've written them in the past. Like, for example, your contact us. If you don't have an email on your website and you're going to force people to do a contact us, you better let them tell you what the problem is instead of cutting them off after one sentence and it doesn't let you write anymore. So there's people that want to contact them and are like, I can't even finish what I need to say. There's no email posted, you know, you got to leave a message. So I think that they could definitely clean up their account management and you know,
Well,
the delinquencies, I think for a small percentage, I would say a lot of those people would be more than happy to pay. I think, you know, but I think they are kind of behind the times in terms of other utility companies' billing systems.
Well, I'll mention that to the Recology general manager. If you can
And
send me some details via email, that
I
would
have,
be great.
and I've
But
reached out
just
to them
out of
before
experience,
for a
I
long
just want to
time.
mention that a lot of the people on this list are repeat people that we see year after year after year. There are people who do not pay their bill at all. They do this intentionally and they let it go to the tax roll. So not everybody, but some of these people do. And anyways, I personally mail in my payment the old fashioned way, and that's also an alternative, but I will certainly bring up these problems with the Recology general manager.
Okay, thanks, David.
I noticed the same thing Nancy did. There's one of these delinquencies that's well over $4,000. And at the monthly rate, that's quite a bit. Is there anything, Chuck or Delia, in our code? When do we do something about this other than put it on the tax rolls?
That one happens to be a triplex because I looked up the address on Google Maps.
I think it's actually a 6 unit that's right here behind the office.
Oh.
That's why the bill is so high.
Delia, remind me if the garbage delinquencies is on the teeter plan.
Yes, it is. We received the money.
So when we place charges on the tax roll, the county pays us whatever we put on the tax roll. So it doesn't affect the district at all.
Whether the person pays their tax bill or not.
Whether the person pays their tax bill or not, we get paid, whether it be the sewer service charge or the garbage delinquency, through this thing called the teeter plan. They pay us, and then the county goes and chases them, and what they get out of it is their, you know, late fees and penalty fees and things like that.
It's an administratively efficient way to do it.
And they do, you know, they're much bigger. They do it for a living, if you will. So.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
And we pay Recology.
Leonard used to do this, right?
Yeah.
People pay this on their property.
Leonard said straight out, he pays his garbage bill once a year when the taxes are due.
Right. And then he probably deducts it on his taxes, so his income tax. So.
Well, he just accepted the penalty and the late fees, you know? So,
So we need a motion to approve the resolution.
Yes.
yes, the next resolution in order. And do we have that?
So moved.
Second,
Any other discussion?
I'll call the roll call. So on motion of Director Dye, seconded by.
no,
Keep doing
Marsh.
it. I know, I'm getting dyslexic. I'm going right to left now. I'm Yiddish. On
I
motion-
have an ally. I'm not going to make all the motions now.
on a motion of Director Marsh, seconded by Director Dye. I will call the rolls. Director Sugamel,
Aye.
Director Dye,
Yes.
Director Marsh,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
and Director Seaton.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8, hearing, consideration to approve fiscal year 21-22 district budget.
So due to the fact that we didn't know what would be happening with the property purchase tonight, and I've also been in contact with Nicholas Calderon. It looks like they're moving ahead with their pump track stuff. I will have to add a couple items to the budget, the purchase of the land and the plus or minus $100,000 we've pledged for the pump track. So I would recommend that your board make a motion to adjourn this budget public hearing to the August 19th, 2021 board meeting.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Sugamel. Okay, I'll call the roll call vote on motion of Director Dye, seconded by Director Sugamel. Director Sugamel,
Aye.
Director Dye,
Aye.
Director Marsh,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Seaton.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
And Chuck, having just through another SAM budget, I again want to thank you for making this as understandable, simple, and short as you do.
Thank you. It's somewhat embarrassingly so sometimes, but when I go to change it, I go, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough information.
Yes.
Item 9, report on sewer authority mid-coast side meetings.
Want me to do it, Matthew?
Sure.
The sewer authority, the big thing at the sewer authority right now is that there's still a process upset at the plant. And this is a real problem. And it seemed last fall to be based on something coming in from one of the, somebody putting something into the sewer system. It's not clear right now. They have brought in a consulting company to take a look at all the processes at the plant. So we are joining in and paying a consultant company to take a look at how the plant is run and what's the best way to run it, which is a good thing. They still can't figure out exactly what's going on. We failed our tests for discharge into the ocean last fall, but not in a terrible way, early last fall. And things have been pretty good since, but now we're having additional problems. So they're really trying hard to figure out what's causing it and where it's coming from, whether it's input from a particular source or whether it's a problem at the plant. And right now it looks like the solution is a $600,000 additional basin to treat effluent at the plant. So that's going to cost us all money. It seems like the flows are down from all of us because of the drought, and they've been running on one of these basins for quite a long time. So we're just trying to understand what the parameters are, what the decisions are. At our next meeting, we're going to have a report from the consultants that were brought in to try to figure out what's going on at the plant. And we will report back to you. We don't know what the answer is to all this. Other than that, I think things are just moving forward as normally at the plant.
I would add that the latest upset at the plant was not caused by BOD. And it seems to be something to do with the fauna.
Filaments. It's filaments.
It's filaments. It has to do with the microorganisms in the plant processing sections becoming unbalanced, and they have these filament creating bacteria, which are always present in the plant in small numbers, have vastly overpopulated, and it's caused those basins to be inefficient and total solids, et cetera, to exceed our permit limits. And was it the last meeting or the one before, the board authorized the general manager to go ahead and get the same company, Brown and Caldwell, that was looking at the BOD upsets to
Yes.
studies and suggestions for what's going on inside the plant with these little critters that are supposed to be eating up the bad stuff.
Yeah, they're filamentous bugs, and when they get together, they're like Velcro, and they bundle together, and then they don't settle out like they're supposed to, and let the clear stuff rise and the solids sink. So they had a problem when they changed from basins 1 and 2 to the newly refitted basin 3. So there's, I read Brown and Caldwell's report. It looks, the mini report, the memo. It looks like a sound plan to move ahead. I'm not so sure about that 4th basin, but, but
yeah.
And for the last community, we have a part-time manager, Chuck, who actually runs 3 other sewages?
Well, I run 4 and Jeff runs 4. Yeah, my partner.
So he runs a number of other sewages. So he has a lot of experience with all these issues.
And filamentous bugs, it happens at treatment plants everywhere. It's just a problem you got to deal with.
I remember Mr. Duffy 3 or 4 meetings ago saying he was sure it was a process issue.
That was not met kindly, and yet here we are.
No, that was meant as a compliment.
I know, no, I meant that I said it was not met kindly when I said that to them.
And the latest update from the SAM GM included the fact that we had, SAM had apparently purchased sludge from another treatment system over the hills, Silicon Valley Clean Water. We imported their sludge because it's got good bugs in it to run through the SAM plant and hopefully restore the balance.
And again, that's standard operating procedure. When your thing goes haywire, you just, again, the stuff isn't that high tech. Let's get good sludge.
The last time the general managers met and talked about this, what was the general consensus?
I think quite honestly, David, I think there's some defensiveness there because it's a recurring problem, and they couldn't figure it out the first time. I don't know that, the only guy who runs treatment plants is me. Clemens doesn't, and John Dowdy doesn't. I meant the agency managers. So, Tim
Costello,
thank you. He was on the call and we had some discussions about it, but, I'm not going to kibitz from the sidelines, and say, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Like I said, I think Brown and Caldwell's plan is pretty good. I think it's good they're importing lots of sludge.
But I know cooperation is kind of out the window with the JPA, but I feel like there should be a
not
task
out the
force.
window.
No.
Whatever. I'm being facetious.
No.
Obviously. I'm saying I think this is a good example where cooperation in terms of a task force, board members from each agency should be on a regular, regular meeting, and because there is a lot of tidbits of information that gets floated out there, all these theories, but unless it's organized in an organized manner, I think it's just all these theories being thrown around. I think it needs some type of organization in terms of a task force with the task force.
Really well, David.
Okay, it seems like it is. Okay, and so what are the details? Okay,
in this stuff. Can I say something? we at the staff level get along quite well, okay? There might be politics up there. We get along quite well, and we don't need board members forming task force about something they don't know anything about. What they're doing is the correct thing. We're sitting talking about it in this meeting, and they're hiring Brown and Caldwell, who are process engineer experts, far smarter than I am, to look at this stuff and do this stuff. That's
Yeah,
what
but
we need.
sometimes things get overcomplicated where board members come in as they're the connection to the community. And sometimes those community dialogues and having a better understanding
technical
of the
issue.
community, it does, but it falls into the technical analysis of how they're interpreting the results, saying, okay, it is good to know the dynamics of these tenants in these areas and what else is going on. And they can't put their boots on the ground and know all those dynamics. That's where locals come in and provide that source of knowledge that experts could kind of tap into. So yeah, if you guys don't think it's a good idea to cooperate on this, I think
I didn't say that.
then where do
He said that,
task force?
David.
Okay,
All right,
where do
all right.
task force come into play? If we're not going to do a
All right.
task force for this, when do we cooperate with our other agency board members? When?
We cooperate all the time.
not
Oh,
go down
okay.
the path.
Formally, when do we formally? I hear lawsuits and things. I'm talking about cooperation.
Well, the lawsuit is because Half Moon Bay sued us.
Okay, we don't.
Don't
I'm talking
forget.
about real cooperation examples.
All right,
Like a,
Yes.
I mean,
Matthew.
it's okay.
Actually,
No, but I
David,
mean, I need to sleep at night. I really do. I need to sleep at night. I really do.
We
So
are
these things,
cooperating.
okay.
We have
And so when
regular
I
meetings.
continue have to live my life and say, am I really part of this organization that is not looking holistically at the community and what's in the best interest of the community in terms of, and topics like this come up? I'm sorry if I get overly passionate,
not
but I
true,
do feel like
David.
if there's an example of cooperation, this is the example. Please form a task force. If you're not going to do one for this, then you're not serious about cooperation.
there's no
Take
need
that
for-
comment.
there-
Take that
there's
comment to your
no
next
need
board.
for
Okay,
a
I'm just
ta-
saying, my input as a board member, take that to your next board meeting and say, one of our board members thinks we should really put our resources together and get on the same page on this. That's the idea. It's
But here's the
camaraderie.
thing, David, we're already doing that.
There is no need for a task force. The board members that are.
I've been hearing this for over a year now about
On-
these five. We got this under control, Dave. Don't worry about it.
the
Every
board
time we've
mem-
met
the
about this,
board members that are.
Okay,
come from
I'm
each
just saying, every
agency,
time we've met about
uh,
this, it's been the same conversation. These things happen, but it's under control now, so don't worry about it. 2 months later, oh, it came back again, but now it's under control, so don't worry about it. 2 months later, same thing. In 2 months, you know where we're gonna be. You know where to find us, PCTV. We're gonna be at the same place saying it came back again, and we can't cooperate with our other JPA agencies, even though we have a contract in place that stipulates cooperation. Please, government watchdogs, if you're out there, an agreement that stipulates cooperation, we have sewage that is going into the ocean, and board members, everybody's, and this is the same attitude of most of these other boards. We don't need to cooperate. There's too many political issues, too many ramifications. You can't be getting board members involved in this. So we just continue to pollute the ocean in the meantime.
we don't have
Great status
Okay,
quo
okay,
alternative.
okay.
we
And
don't
this
have,
comes up every year, different situation. If
we don't have sewage going into the ocean. I want to correct that statement.
We do
Yes,
not.
that's-
we
that's-
have in the
Absolutely
past,
not.
we
do
have
not
had fines in the
sewage
past.
Going into the ocean.
Big fines, some of the
David?
biggest fines in the Bay Area, people. Biggest fines in
No.
the Bay Area in the past. And
Right.
we do have it,
Yep.
the sewage
Nancy-
that's going,
Nancy's got her hand
the
up.
effluent that's
No,
going
it's
into the
not.
I have
ocean.
my
is
hand
above-
up.
it's not.
You shut- turn him
it's
off.
not.
Nancy had her hand up, or Matthew.
I just wanted to note that it's an interesting thing. The board of SAM with the 3 agency representatives meets, I think, 2 Mondays a month or every other Monday. And it's a meeting that can be joined. So it doesn't have to be a mystery. It's an interesting meeting to go to see how they actually operate with each other in a board meeting. And in this case, I believe that they joined together and agreed to hire the outside consultant to help the plant people figure this out. So I don't think it has to be something that's a mystery. I think the public meetings can be attended and we can see how the board members behave with each other. My understanding is that when it's an issue, aside from the lawsuit and who pays for what, they They appear to work together.
And my comment would be, I could care less how people behave with each other. What are the results? And the results are agencies that are completely
sorry.
fragmented
I thought
in
cooperation
lawsuits
was
with
a
each
behavior.
other, complete fragmentation, no coordination. So
Eric's
I don't
got his-
care.
Eric got his hand up. Let somebody else speak.
Yeah, I'm just gonna weigh in here, speaking from my day job. Brown and Caldwell is an extremely respected firm in this industry. They know what they're doing. We have hired a quality consultant to work through the issue. We should be happy that the three boards did that together on SAM and are trying to solve the problem. Grandstanding about what all of us laymen could provide is just silly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And David, you don't know what you're talking about on this. The board members from each member agency that are SAM representatives have been totally cooperating with each other and giving the management at SAM the direction they ask for. That's where we got this.
And honestly,
The
I'll respond to that.
General managers of the member agencies are meeting. They are cooperating completely. The lawsuit aside.
Okay, whatever.
cooperating Completely on fixing
Facts aside.
at the plant.
Yeah, I'll just say this.
This
I mean,
happens in other plants as well. We are not the only plant that this
Every
happens.
plant.
We
has
just have to
plant
solve it.
Yes, every plant has plant upsets. Mine.
I mean, yeah, but you would think with this many agencies involved in one small sewer system, we would have the most efficient operating cooperative sewer
We do.
agencies in the world. No, one day
David,
it
the
will be
microbes
exposed.
don't
One day it
care
will be
about our
exposed.
politics.
One day it will be exposed that bureaucracy grew so far out of control that it's lost its entire purpose in some ways, in some cases. And this is like, come on. I mean, cooperation, you guys, I hope there's, you guys just shot down the idea. No, we're not gonna even consider cooperating on an issue like this. Throw that out the window, board manager and other board members. Come on. I mean,
We
that's
just
something so
said-
simple.
We just
That
said
should
the
be- that should have-
cooperation you're
that should have already
asking for is
happened months
going
ago.
on right now.
Okay, that should have happened months ago, though. It just shows
It's
there's
been
no good
happening.
faith.
It's
The
No,
been
good
no,
faith
happening
is
for
gone.
months.
We're starting to
hang
become,
on.
we're starting to become the harbor district. Okay? Bill quit the harbor district. Okay?
That's not nice.
I mean, you guys
It
make
was
a
not
lot of
nice.
comments and you guys,
I shouldn't-
you
I
think it's
shouldn't
funny,
lump
yeah,
everybody in. You're
layman,
right.
like all these things. Maybe you guys need to check your ego a little
Matthew,
bit.
can we move to
Maybe
the
you guys each need to
consent
check your ego a little
agenda?
bit and really
There's
before you
some-
make these comments, okay?
There's some serious projection going on.
Moving on to the consent agenda, which is item June 17th, 2021 special and regular meeting minutes. Item 11, July 2021 warrants. Item 12, May 2021 financial statements. And item 13, assessment district distribution number 1-21/22. Would anyone like to pull any items for discussion or make comments about any of those? Or can we have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay,
We're the
Okay,
team now, Nancy.
we have a motion and a second, no discussion. Roll call, please.
all right, a motion of Director Dye, seconded by Director Marsh. Director Sukumal? Director Dye,
Yes.
Director Marsh,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Seaton.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item number.
And honestly, with the, maybe you guys should reach out to the laymen of the world, Eric, and maybe you're the, these people that are such experts. Maybe
David,
sometimes
I
just
can
when you,
promise
okay, when you
Brown
humble
and
yourself
Caldwell knows
sometimes,
more
Eric,
about
when you
sewer
humble
treatment
yourself
than
to
you
laymen, when you humble yourself to the layman, sometimes maybe that's when you have these awakenings and you have these epiphanies
David,
sometimes.
I'm being.
Okay, so don't make comments like layman. Come on. I mean, you could, don't be.
David,
Come
if
on,
I wasn't
Eric,
being
really.
humble, I'd point out that I have 3 degrees in civil engineering.
Oh, very humble. That's so humble. That's very.
You asked me
humble,
not to be humble.
Eric. Okay, I didn't ask for your degree.
And now I'm acting like
That's
the
called
Harbor
okay.
District, so I'll
Okay.
shut up.
Okay. Okay, all I'm saying is same thing with the comments on Harbor District. Come on, check what this board just went through. And the whole community saying do not push, and then
Can
you
we
guys
move
are
on the
still
agenda?
acting. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing though. It's kind of embarrassing when you come
next
on.
No,
time you
that's,
need
you're embarrassing only
please
yourself,
hire
David.
a truck driver. Item 14, reports on seminars, conferences, or committee meetings. Do we have?
What does that statement mean? Hire a truck driver though, really?
Well, if you think laymen are so great and they have so much to add, take out your liver.
Take out your liver. Okay, so see, I think that shows that comment shows a lot about where you're coming from. That really does. Unless I'm missing something. What else do you mean by that comment? What else do you mean?
You're not missing anything.
I am. I really am. What do you mean by that?
15,
What do you mean by
report.
that, Matthew? Honestly.
Item number 15.
Okay, if you're gonna say something, you gotta say what you mean by that. That's a public comment. What did
And
you
we
mean
can
by
take
that?
it offline.
Bill Parkin's not here, so we have.
Okay, don't just make comments,
Don't be
not
Bill.
elaborate.
We just gotta have through this, guys.
We have plenty of elaboration.
All right,
It sounds like it.
Number
That's all there
16,
is.
general manager's report.
I've got nothing further.
Item number 17, administrative staff report. Delia?
She has nothing further.
Okay.
Thank you, Delia. Item number 18, engineers report.
Does anyone have any questions on the engineers report? All the.
How's the work going? Smoothly?
They all seem to be going smoothly.
Perfect.
So we haven't any.
Yes, I do have some comments. I
Okay.
want to ask, I understand the Palma project has taken longer than they thought because they found asbestos and had to move it over, dig trenches. But what do they do after that? Are they done
After what?
after
To the
Palma?
Palma Street.
I think on that stretch, they also found that one part of the main ran at the wrong slope, and so they had to redo.
Yes, they had to redo it. So it was a big even though they've been so good about getting in and out quickly on on Isabella, it's taken a lot longer on Palma.
Yeah, let me check with KJ and I'll send something out.
Yeah, I don't have the schedule in front of me, so.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah.
So I think there's another project that's going on in another part of El Granada.
Yeah.
I don't think they're done when they're done with that.
I don't know. I don't have the schedule. Can you check with KJ, Delia?
Yes.
Check with X.
And
Okay.
did we get the yard cleaned up? That was a concern of the community. That
Yes.
their yard was kind of messy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't, we actually reported that to the contractor. He wasn't very happy because he didn't think a lot of the stuff, and when I read the community thing, we try and be sensitive to that stuff, obviously, but they've got a porta potty there, so no one needs to pee in a water bottle, and there's people throwing trash all over the place there. So, but we made him aware of it, and he said he'll certainly watch out for it. But
When at the Burnham Strip cleanup, they did pick up several bags of trash from around their perimeter.
Right.
And you could see a lot of trash inside, water bottles and other things that were scattered inside. So it was.
Yeah, I'm sure the inside looks like a construction site, but it's contained a little more. But our KJ talked to them about it. So.
Okay, thanks.
And I asked them to put their the fabric back on the fence because I was concerned that it was loose and would wash into the ocean, and they never did it.
Yeah, well, if you have something like that, Barbara, just send it to me and I'll send it to KJ because they'll.
I mean, you have that fabric that goes on the construction fence.
No, I get it. Yeah, no, it will blow
It's
into
been
the
on the
ocean.
ground. It's
if they
been on the
don't
ground
fix
for
it,
months.
but- Right, yeah.
Oh, I just want to mention this.
Local.
Oh, okay, well,
Backwards,
moving on.
backwards. Recycle day is Saturday, by the way, from 8 to 12.
Okay, we should have done that earlier.
I know, I'm sorry about that.
Okay,
My
on
fault.
ongoing work, I've been.
Where's
going down
Leonard
to
when
the-
we need
So
him?
can we talk a little bit about the project in Miramar?
That's what I was just starting.
Yeah, sorry, Matthew.
the Naples Beach Project Phase 2. I've gone there daily, and they are almost done with all the excavation. They have two 20-foot stretches to reconnect to, I think one of them's a lateral and the other one is a small main to a manhole. And that will be the end of the excavations there. It's been going well, according to everyone who'll say anything. I'm actually surprised, though, that I've been there a lot more than the city inspector. This is a city of Half Moon location, and we had to get a permit from them. And their inspectors hasn't shown up much at all, as far as I can tell. And it also is crossing state parks property. That excavation and pipeline are all done now, but it's still being used for material storage and staging. And I'm actually surprised we haven't heard any complaints from either parks or the city, because they, on the plans, they have a 20-foot wide easement to work within, and they're paying absolutely no attention to that. The Golden Bay, their impacts have gone 50 feet across in numerous locations, and there happens to be a state park employee who lives at the southern end who comments to me whenever I see her about, why are these guys not staying within their lines? So
and that's something else we should report to KJ.
Absolutely.
yeah, I think so. Oh, and they dug up a yellow jacket nest in the ground. And yeah, that was fun. And they dumped it on the side, and we're gonna have to make sure that they pick that dirt back up because they won't want to. The Yellow Jackets have been very busy building new entrances to their now above ground nest. So anyway, that should be wound up. The excavation should be done the end of next week, and then they have manholes to finish and paving, and so it's moving along.
Good.
Good. And if you could let us know what the work that's going to continue in El Granada is, that would be
I
good.
will.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to give you a false scent, Barbara. So you'll leave the poor people from Devaney alone.
Oh, she picks on PG&E too, so it's not just him.
All right.
Okay, that takes us to future agenda items. Barbara already mentioned one. Would you like to reiterate?
Yes, I want to be sure we have an agenda item at our next meeting to talk about what the county is proposing to do to reduce impacts to the neighbors.
Yeah, so I'll send Nick Calder out an email tomorrow.
Great.
I have
I'd
an
like to-
agenda item as well.
Go ahead, Eric.
I think we need to talk about the Brown Act and the COVID state of emergency and what our plans are for the end of September.
Yes.
Good
So
with that.
you're, I think the bill sent around the September 15th missive.
No,
I think that's when okay, I'll have him.
That's when the state of emergency ends, right?
Well, it's probably gonna be
Right.
extended because of the lockdowns.
And I
again.
think
We're
they
going
lifted
into-
a bunch of ours, but I have to look. It came while I was
It's happening again now.
so.
Bill said that we can return to open regular meetings in October.
Yeah, I'm not coming.
Good.
Eric, you have to. You don't get a choice.
I've always got a choice.
You signed the contract somewhere.
Mhm.
It's always
Does
now.
Does this mean that the state is going to rescind our ability to do Zoom meetings completely?
They haven't issued their final regulations because I was talking to John Dowdy in Half Moon Bay about this, and he was talking about hybrid meetings going into the future. So, and you know, so like I said, well, let me ask Bill when he gets back there, because a lot of people like this Zoom. A lot of people don't like the Zoom. You know, it's got pluses and minuses. Obviously, it gets more public participation if you're into that sort of thing. You know, it's easier for board members and things like that. But yeah, So, but we'll send something out when Bill gets back. He'll be back Monday.
Okay.
I'd like to just put a little more urgency on the one that I added for, it was financing for parks, and now it might be financing for parks and community center, but I still like to understand what the annual costs are for what we finance and whether we end up financing the community center or buying it for cash, but
Yeah.
start more serious annual budgeting for what our outlays are gonna be.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to, and I've been in contact with our person, and we're gonna do some kind of lease agreement. They call these financing vehicles weird things. It's not really a lease, but because we'll already own it, and they're looking at 5, 7, and 10-year notes to finance that.
If we talk about that, can we also talk about improving our discussion of our financing on the website? I mean, we get every 3 months, there's a question about where the money comes from. And it would be good to have like a consistent and correct answer to point people to.
I just put a blurb up there. Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine too. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything
Yeah,
complicated.
it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, okay.
I think from the budget, even Chuck, just adding numbers, you know, we get $800,000 a year from the county that we're now allocating to parks. Sewer fees are separate, and it's this much that gets allocated to sewers, just to keep.
And it's super weird. It's like pretty, I mean, my understanding is pretty unique and really weird that we get it. So that's a big part of why people don't.
Yeah.
Half Moon Bay Parks are very jealous that we.
People think it's
Everybody is
weird and
jealous.
unique. It basically, I mean, if you were around in Matthew and I are just having this conversation, you were around in 1978 and you were getting property tax, and Prop 13 came along. And a lot of people.
Yeah, I was not around in 1978.
So anyway, but I'll put that as part of the blurb. Yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk about
So-
improving our website at some point?
Yeah.
David and I were a communications subcommittee. I think we should talk about improving our website.
Well, yeah, I agree, because it was adequate, and I'm using that word purposely, when we were a sewer district. Now that we're a Parks and Recreation district, yeah, we've got to step up our game. I agree.
Michelle keeps offering, so I think if we want to use an alternative, we should probably get on it.
My only agenda item, I know we haven't done it since Lender was on the board, but I think it's something that should be revisited every year, would be just a continuum of cooperation among JPA agencies. I think it's nice to have the an ability to everybody to focus, they forget about whatever, that just talk about ways starting small all the way up the chain, that we could continually dig deep into cooperation. I think all agencies should do it. I know we did it when Leonard was on the board a while back. I would hopefully you guys agree with me, have an agenda item, talk about it, move on from it, just ideas but starting of the full continuum of ways we could better cooperate and provide that value to the community.
And lastly, I hope, this comes from an article I read in the Special Districts magazine. Hopefully Recology is really on top of this, but as of next January 1st, we're going to have kitchen waste composting thrust upon us by state law. And according to this article, that has meant that most districts have had to amend their ordinance codes and or bylaws, and in cooperation with their actual garbage collectors. So I'd like to be sure that our attorneys are on this, and they know what Recology is going to come up with, so that we can let our constituents know what they're going to come up with before January 1st.
Yes, and as usual, Chris Porter is all over that. And she's talked to me about putting an ordinance in place for, it's AB 1383, edible food.
Right.
So yeah, so we are aware of that and are putting that in place. So make it clear now.
Anything else?
Hey, 9 o'clock. I was looking at 10:30 or 11.
Not
Yeah,
very
this was
many-
good.
Not very
Matthew?
many people came. It was
I,
pretty
I
limited.
need your signature on the resolution for the sewer service charge report, and I believe, Chuck, there's some signatures required from you as well. That
Okay.
will be sent to you from Dave Warden, so I
Yeah.
just, okay. Matthew,
Okay,
will you be
good.
available tomorrow?
Yes. I can scribble something,
Yeah, what happened there?
broken wrist. Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Okay,
All right.
Thanks.
So yeah,
All right.
thank you.
thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
This
Have a
Night,
good-
meeting,
We
everyone.
need a
Good night,
motion to
everyone.
adjourn.
no, this
Matthew's
meeting
got the
is
power.
adjourned.
Thank you.
All
All right.
Night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.